Kristalina Georgieva, Direktur Pelaksana Dana Moneter Internasional, IMF, memperingatkan bahwa perang di Timur Tengah, khususnya konflik dengan Iran, akan menyebabkan perlambatan pertumbuhan global dari 3,4% tahun lalu menjadi 3,1% pada 2026. Georgieva menyatakan bahwa lonjakan harga, kerusakan infrastruktur, dan gangguan rantai pasokan akibat konflik ini mempengaruhi perekonomian dunia, dengan potensi penurunan lebih lanjut jika situasi terus memburuk.
And slowing global growth down from 3.4% last year to 3.1% in 2026. But if the conflict persists and oil prices stay high for an extended period, we must brace for tough times ahead. Our World Economic Outlook outlines a range of scenarios. In the most adverse case, growth could fall to 2%. And the shock is global. All countries are affected by higher energy prices. But the negative impact is highly asymmetric, with the biggest burdens falling on countries that import energy and have limited policy space. In many cases, these are low-income or fragile economies. They need attention, and an important focus of our discussion this week is on how we can best support them. In this world of frequent shocks and uncertainty, what is our policy advice to our members? Public debt is constraining fiscal space. I want to stress what is different this time in comparison to COVID is the cumulative impact of shock upon shock. It has pushed debt to dangerously high levels. Global public debt is on track to breach 100% of GDP in 2029, a level not seen since the aftermath of World War II. So, to maintain their fiscal policy credibility, policymakers need to strike a careful balance between safeguarding fiscal sustainability and protecting those who are hit the hardest and have least capacity to respond. The good news is that many countries have so far avoided. We serve as the firefighter for our member countries, and we are committed to helping them navigate this complex landscape. We anticipate near-term demand for IMF financial support to range between $20 and $50 billion. This represents augmentations of some existing programs. Currently, we have 39 programs, and prospective demand for new programs from at least a dozen countries, a number of them in sub-Saharan Africa. We are coordinating closely with the World Bank, with the International Energy Agency, with other partners, including at regional level, to maximize our combined response. Even as we step up our support, we continue to adapt our toolkit.
Don't think you have to chase this inflation rate first and foremost, and don't think you have to raise interest rates kind of almost preemptively.
Thank you for your question. Yes, we are concerned about the physical breakdown in supply chains. We are already seeing, especially in Asia, that is highly dependent on imports from the Gulf, that there are shortages in place not only of oil and gas, but also of naphtha, of helium, and that is creating already some disruptions, and that we need to recognize is not going to evaporate overnight, even if the war ends tomorrow. Why? Because a tanker is a slow-moving vessel. It would take 40 days to get all the way to Fiji. So we need to be prepared that the impact of the supply disruptions in the weeks ahead is going to deepen. So what do we tell countries? Use measures that can economize energy. And I have seen some countries doing exactly that, putting in place incentives like make public transport free, incentivize people to take it, or work from home. We did it during COVID. I don't see a reason why not do more of it now. Or switch to a less energy-intensive activities over time. We are concerned about risks for inflation moving into food prices. Should the delivery of fertilizers at a reasonable price is not restarted soon, then in this case we might see pressure on food prices, and we all recognize how difficult this would be for people everywhere. We were looking at, for example, urea in sales in Africa. Already from $400, it jumped to $800. It doubled, price has doubled. These are dangerous developments. I have in my office a map of countries and where they fall in terms of their dependency on imports and their fiscal space. And it pains me that majority of sub-Saharan Africa countries are in this quadrant of vulnerability. And therefore, we are very determined to use this week to identify which are the countries that most urgently need support, and then come out of the week with discussions around the way we would support them. But let me emphasize that the most important thing we do for our members is to help them help themselves, to have strong policies during good times to build buffers, so during bad times they can protect their people. And I am impressed by how much countries have done, including countries in sub-Saharan Africa. I was with the African Consultative Group yesterday, and I can tell you the ministers, the central bank governors, didn't ask for money. They asked for urgent policy advice. They asked for our support to develop further the local currency markets in Africa. But of course, there would be need for financial support. And as I said, we are prepared, and we would move very swiftly
to weather these shocks and boost their resilience, as well as possibly attract investments amid this. Thank you. ASEAN
countries have been very determined to put in place good policies and strong institutions. They have done it over the last years. Actually, ASEAN is a bright spot in terms of growth and in terms of economic dynamism. When we look at the impact of this shock, because of this strong build-up over the years, ASEAN is actually weathering the shock as a group of countries relatively well. But there is a big difference across ASEAN countries. Most ASEAN countries are energy importers. There are some that are exporters. They have that easier position. For the energy importers, those that had very little to none in terms of reserves of oil and gas, the situation is much more difficult. And I very much sympathize with the people in the Philippines, because I know that your country does face that difficulty.
And where do you see the biggest opportunity for international cooperation?
But it is a continuation to the answer I gave to the previous question. What we see in China, while we are slightly downgrading projections for growth from 4.5 to 4.4%, we do see resilience in the economy. China has great potential as it moves to change its growth model from one that is mostly dependent on exports to one that is primarily oriented towards domestic consumption, move from goods to services. That can give a big boost to China. And of course, China's size means that when China does well, there are positive spillovers for the rest of the world, for the region, especially for Asia, but also for the rest of the world.
Jelajahi cara baru mendapatkan informasi. Download MetroTV Extend sekarang.